SJW culture is going to vanish quickly as if it never existed. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and the writing has been on the wall for quite some time, and now the prophecies are finally coming true. The blog Everyday Feminism is reduced to begging for money, and their fans and fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice warrior culture is a party that is officially over. The lights have come on, and eventually security will have to come chase out the hardcore true believers of the ideology, even if they are black lesbians in wheelchairs. You see, the thing is this: the true believers in fourth wave intersectional feminist social justice, or what can easily be described as the belief in privileging the winners of the oppression Olympics with immunity from criticism, the belief in the right for women to lie about and insult men without repercussion, and the belief that black media workers should be able to get away with telling white people how to style their hair, among other things. The people that thought that this ridiculous list of cultural double standards was actually quote-unquote social justice, these people probably never deeply and truly thought that all of this was fair, but rather, they just didn't care. Instead of looking for equality and harmony between various identities, they wanted to punish people they deemed responsible for the injustices of decades past, even if the white, straight, cisgender males of today never did anything wrong. But of course, the people have spoken, and everybody hates intersectional feminist social justice. And although Mike, Bill Nye, and the show Problematic on Comedy Central might pretend to think that their programming is down with the kids, it's really probably just because each media company had pre-existing contracts to deliver this type of content that were drafted when everybody assumed Hillary Clinton would win the American presidency. The powers that be thought that social justice culture was working and was successfully influencing the masses. And when it failed, there are still entertainers with contracts demanding that they peddle the ideology even into Trump's presidency, as cringy as it is to see them do it. They have contracts that they signed last year. You see, although the social justice warrior mentality definitely became more widespread, power-hungry, and relentless over the course of this decade as the internet helped facilitate its reign of terror spreading, this definitely isn't the first time college campuses, at least, have been held hostage by political correctness and lunatics who thought that they had every right to order everybody around, as you can watch in the movie PCU from the late 90s if you don't believe me. That is exactly what they were criticizing in that movie. People hated PC culture, as we called it in the 90s, every bit as much as people hate the social justice warriors of now. And at the core, there was very little that differentiated what it was then as compared to what it is today. The main differences that I see are that transgender people have replaced gays and lesbians in the category of politicized queerness. Black people complain about microaggressions on college campuses as opposed to not having enough black students in schools, and feminists don't even pretend to be strong women and are not even shy about how much they hate men. But still, each movement of quote-unquote political correctness, whatever the fuck that even means, is ultimately motivated by one thing and one thing only, despite whatever anybody might tell you, and that's revenge. It's motivated by vengeance against populations people have a gripe with. Pure and simple. Revenge is the motivation that can turn a previously reasonable upper middle class black woman who mostly had white friends into a white male hating lunatic over the course of a year. I had a good friend that this happened to, and it seemed that she became that way because she had one too many shitty relationships with white men. Fancy that. Revenge is the motivation that can turn a previously reasonable transgender person into somebody who hates seemingly everybody who isn't a transgender person that doesn't pass as cis very well. Seriously, I've known numerous trans people that can easily be spotted as trans, and they almost unanimously end up taking it out on both cisgender people, but also they take it out on trans people who do pass. They're just mad all the time at basically everybody. Revenge is the motivation that anybody who is unhappy can muster in an effort to blame the entire world for their own unhappiness. But ultimately, the vast majority of these people are assigning blame to demographics like white straight men, or men period, when they have actually been harmed by a long series of individuals. If that, maybe they just feel that way. But guess what, SJWs? After enough of you women, trans people, and racial minorities have abused white straight men, who are the single most powerful demographic in our nation, a lot of them will gladly return the favor and seek revenge on you. And probably on me too, because I'm gay and they don't know nor care that I'm not one of you. Once SJWs took out their aggression very directly, openly, and unapologetically on individual members of groups based on the fact that these people were members of a specific demographic, it will only be a matter of time before the individuals targeted want revenge of their own. Fuck your affirmative action, they'll always say. Fuck your microaggressions, you triggered nigger, they might say, just to be honest. Fuck your stupid bathroom laws, you gender-fluid blue-haired freak, they'll likely say. And fuck you and your date rape accusations, I bet you're lying because feminists always lie, they'll very likely say. The unstoppable force of backlash should have seemed inevitable when people were sharing MTV Decoded videos relentlessly hating on white men. But what people underestimate is how long the anti-PC or anti-SJW backlash will continue. Will this go on for a few years until MTV and BuzzFeed decide it's not a good idea to antagonize men and majority groups in their videos? Absolutely not. The backlash against SJWs won't simply vanish when SJW culture vanishes. In 8 years' time, even if shit lordery has become the cultural norm and social justice warriors are beyond extinct outside of lesbian potlucks and gender studies departments, there will still be the occasional person saying, "Man, I hate SJWs. They get mad at you every time you say anything. People are so PC these days. It sucks." You see, power shifts quickly, and culture can shift even quicker. And despite what most people might say about being committed to social justice, the vast majority of people are merely committed to following the herd of what is socially acceptable. Now that starving piranha syndrome has reached full effect and every faction of SJW is busy fighting with themselves, if they aren't full-on Antifa starting to get themselves arrested more and more, most people are looking at the destruction of the Democratic Party and the infighting about whether or not Sanders is feminist enough, and people just think it's pathetic. Even white people who were calling out their friend list for appropriating black culture just 9 months ago are probably thinking to themselves that they don't want to be associated with the outrage machine any longer. But will they ever admit the errors in their worldview and behavior to you or to me? Will they ever apologize for their relentless, bigoted antagonizing of anybody with common sense and hypocritical doublethink that justified them being racist and sexist to avoid avoid being called racist and sexist by whichever SJW friend of theirs they were trying to impress by attacking you in the first place? Will you ever get your much-deserved apology? No, that's not what's gonna happen, because the types of people truly brainwashed by SJWism are simply not capable of seeing the bigger picture and noticing what happened. All they will ever do is follow the direction of the herd, and they'll never ask any questions about why exactly the entire populace did a complete 180. In 2 years' time, when your formerly SJW friend tells a tranny joke, and you mention the fact that if she ever even heard somebody say such a joke in 2015, she would have been completely triggered, this friend will not admit that you were right the whole time. No, she'll say, "What are you talking about? I always had a dark sense of humor." And that will be that. Facebook and Twitter might even be entirely deleted if people move to new social networking sites, and there will be minimal evidence of their social justice warrior past. Life will go on, and in 8 years' time, depending on who wins in politics, we'll likely have a brand new dogma that corporate legacy media will be pushing, demanding that people conform to it. Intersectional feminism failed its mission of controlling the masses. I have no idea what they'll try next, but very likely by the time they do, the last 5 years will be a distant memory. Drop me a comment, help me out on Patreon if you think I seem cool, and stay tuned.